All right, so we're gonna jump in and have a conversation, and the only item on today's agenda is the thing. So, we all have a picture that looks probably similar to this at some point. That happens to be my first grade.
Yeah, I don't have anything. Oh well, I got the internal mic.
You couldn't tell which one I am. Right there in the center. I put this picture there for one reason and one reason only. This is probably the most cherished week that we could have in education, and that is teacher appreciation. And in this picture is Miss Lebo in the upper left-hand corner. She was my first grade teacher and had just a tremendous spirit. And she often thought differently about education. Oh, there you go. Now you can really see where I am, right? And she always thought differently about education, and because of that, I think it's just important to thank a teacher, thank someone that's educating our young people today for all the hard work they do. So I just want to thank teachers today. If you can give them a round of applause. So we're going to continue our conversation about transparency. I know I've spoken about this often as a collective unit, and I promise you three things: always bring you the information as fast as I can, but as slow as we must. Make sure it's accurate, and then lastly, of course, getting feedback from you. Today, that's going to be tremendously important because you'll see our setup for today is a little bit different, thinking differently about town hall today. So with that said, does anyone know who this gentleman is? Take a guess what he might have invented. The first cell phone. Can anyone imagine carrying a cell phone that looks like that, right? You have one. You have one. So it was, upwards of 18 inches long, about a pound and a half, right, in weight. These were the first cell phones. And then there was a gentleman that came along and put this ad out to change the way we think about technology.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them. Because they change things, they push the human race forward. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
Does anyone know the voice behind that? Who was the voiceover of that commercial? Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs is the gentleman who came up with the slogan, came up with the idea about us thinking differently, and I think that applies to what we're trying to do here in Lorain, is to think differently around how we educate our kids. And there was a point in Steve Jobs' career in which he was forced to think differently. This is the 38-year longitudinal study of Apple stock. So if you can imagine where Apple began, where they started, you'll notice at the very bottom here, they were struggling for a long time. They did not reinvent, they did not become creative, they were trying to just, kind of get a computer out there and sustain it. It was overpriced, it wasn't effective, until one point around 2007. Does anyone want to take a guess what was invented then? The iPhone. Changed the game completely. Rewrote the way that we think about technology, the way we think about phones, the way we think about communicating with each other. And that didn't happen by accident because Steve Jobs and his team said, you know what, we have to think about what we do differently. And sometimes in preparing people for things that are different, you have to prepare them for things they're not ready for. And he was often quoted for saying such things. And for that reason, this stock that now is in 2007, kind of a rocky point, you can see how much it's worth. How many were on the front end investors in that? Nobody. I was just going to become friends with you if you were. But nonetheless, you see how Apple has been changed forever. So our job the way Steve Jobs has presented as well, we too need to think differently. And I think about this a lot when we think about some of the concerns around what we're doing and where we're going and the changes we need to make. And I had a chance to analyze a bunch of numbers that was given to us by our title office and some of our data folks who took a lot of time to pull this for me, so I appreciate you for pulling this data. And I looked at every one of our schools and our title services that we had throughout the district over the past year. And so what you see highlighted here are the grades. I took the names of the kids out, and then you'll see the months in which I analyzed. And I put it in a big spreadsheet, put them all together, and there was some very interesting data that came out of this. We have about 425 kids on average in all of our schools. Granted, it's skewed depending on what grade level or what area of the town you're in. We've had Title I teachers, or the structure of Title I teachers, for 10 plus years. I say 10 plus years generously. I'm sure it's been a lot longer than that. From the data I was able to collect, and it's hard to see, the stage lights, it's hard to see up there, but on average, every month, a Title I teacher, of the 425 kids on average that are in a building, serve about 27. 27 of our 425 kids. Now again, these are from the logs. Now granted, they might be in classrooms doing push-ins, pull-outs, whatever it might be, but from the logs, on average, the average teacher served 27 of about 425 kids, depending on the size of the school. The most glaring statistic, though, is on the far right, the percentage of kids that are not reading on grade level. It's not an indictment of our people, but it is time for us to think differently if we want this to change. So I point this out as we have conversations today about thinking differently. We have to realize that we're in a place where here's our opportunity to do so. And so if we're hung up on some things that have been in place in the past and realize the results are not there, we won't be able to make the radical change we need to see. We won't be able to have that Steve Jobs Apple moment where the iPhone's invented here in Lorain. So I say all that to say, as we have our conversations today, we're going to think a little bit differently. I'm going to stop talking in about 3 minutes, and you all will have your chance to talk with individuals around the initiatives that we've been working very, very hard behind the scenes to make sure they're in good shape to get your feedback and make sure we're pushing forward for the next year. So the first thing we're going to need from you is to realize that we're moving away from this mentality of being cowboys. And I think the structures that we've seen in the past, right, when we think about Title I teachers, we think about those type of structures. There was a time when that one teacher could do it all, absolutely could do it all. But our mindset has to be different and move to a place where pit crews are more important so that we can serve all of our kids. So to do so, we realize that these 5 initiatives are going to try to address those challenges and/or those needs. And you'll see next to those 5 initiatives, the first column over, we needed collective people to come together, a pit crew to give us some feedback and help us get where we're going. A number of you are in here who were part of those task force to help inform these 5 initiatives. We have partners that are lined up, and we started to pilot some of these pieces. Have we piloted all of them? Absolutely not. Some of them we actually need more feedback from you on. That's why we're here today. Because today, what you will do, you will take about 30 seconds to think about the 5 initiatives, and I believe you have samples in front of you of the 5 initiatives. You're going to look at those 5 initiatives and say, you know what, I want to hear more about this initiative, and I want you to particularly listen for how it impacts you. I know, again, I think I referenced this, and if you've been to many of my town halls as a teacher, I referenced this day back in August when you said you're tired of hearing things on August 1st, 2nd, 3rd, when you come back about the new initiative that's going on. So I promised you that we wouldn't do that this year, and we're not. And so today is the day where you're going to hear what is coming forward next year and listen for how it impacts you. Like, what are the things that actually will impact your day-to-day work? So you could start to ask us questions on how do we help you get to where you need to be successful in August. So it's nice to have that conversation here in May versus when you come back from a wonderful vacation in August. So you're going to think about the initiative you want to listen in on. You're going to listen for about 10 minutes, ask questions, have a dialogue in one of the 5 areas around the room. And shout out to the team that made this all happen, by the way. Thank you for making this setup look so wonderful. So yeah, there's Initiative 1, which is Birth Through Bachelors, which talks about Parent University, ClassLink, and the data dashboard. We have Initiative 2, which is Early Readers, Early Leaders, to talk about pre-K and our push to get more books in kids' hands. Initiative 3 is Opportunities for All, where we're talking about college, career, and cultural events for our young people, along with other school culture elements. 4 is Great Teachers Initiative, where we're going to talk about standard-based risk-based grading, and the introduction of our instructional vision of excellence. And 5 is building for the future, when we're talking about the redesign of the high school, along with internships for our kids. So in a minute, I'm going to ask you just to decide to go to a corner. You go to a corner, have that conversation for 10 minutes. At the end of that 10 minutes, you will have an opportunity to give feedback on what you've heard. There's going to be a mechanism for you to actually submit your thoughts, let us know what you're thinking so we can collect your ideas and understandings of what you heard and how it's impacting you. This is going to be that time where we really want to hear from you about how this is going to work or not so we can get better. And then you're going to repeat. You're going to find that second initiative and go to another initiative and listen to another conversation. So you want to make sure you pick your top 2 choices. For example, I know Miss Lee, I want to take a guess. Initiative 2 around pre-K. And Initiative 1, yep, I was going to guess that one. Initiative 1 around birth through bachelors because of parents, the importance of parents. So she's going to split her time between those 2 things, give feedback on each one, all right? At the end of that, we're going to come back together, and then there'll be a quick share out of what we heard, and we'll answer any questions that came up. There's chart paper in each area, and we'll go from there. Good? All right. So at this time, ladies and gentlemen, if you could select your initiative you would like to hear from and move to that area. You have 30 seconds to get there. When you hear music again, you'll move to your next rotation. All right? Thank you.
Hey, Barbie.
Are you recording this right now?
Yeah, but yeah. It won't be on YouTube, but it's live on. It's going live on Facebook. It's streaming live now. It's on Facebook, which is standard desk. Later on, I'll usually put it out. So for anybody who couldn't make it, they can watch it live.
I usually do.
You're my biggest fan. You need an award for that.
I should get somewhere, right?
Should, absolutely. My biggest fan.
At this point, conversation should be beginning. Conversation should be beginning. Thank you.
Before we get to the slide, there's a few things I want to kind of get you on. So, I'm Vic. You guys are close, my co-facilitator for Initiative 5, Jeff Hawks, our Chief Operations. So, part of this, Build for the Future, really is connected to Commitment 5, which is parent scholarship. And our vision, actually, you see it actually in your handbook. In your little handouts, it is preparing scholars today. And so, with that, we look at revisioning the high school. And so, not next year, but the following year. So, they are sophomore, and they will have an opportunity to pick different academies to take pathways for graduate. So, one academy is freshman academy. It's tight. So we'll have it next year. Mary Jo is one of the extra teachers. We have early college. We will have at the high school. And then we will actually have satellite at Lorain College. We will have Success Tech Academy. That will be both it's just under one roof. We will have arts and media, which will be vision. We will have social science, civic engagement academy, and then we'll have a STEM academy. And in a few minutes, I'll go
All teachers earlier.
so the 3 prongs are 3 prongs that just feed each one of our initiatives. And it really is, one is the district, 2 is regional schools. So for us, we identified responsibilities for the district to actually allocate resources, fund the academy, fund the elective courses, classroom resources, and staff training. What I hope to put in the community is elementary programs will actually provide internships or externship courses and possibly resources. And then our school, high school, their responsibility is to create
So this initiative is really based on
create specific elective
making
courses
sure that our
that
teachers
teachers
understand the content.
and then identify research and staff training.
Understand what they should.
This, each one of us is called, it's called the power
Making sure that our
slide.
teachers.
And so we'll walk through this. And really, there are three pillars.
Side by side.
The first one is informing staff and community. The second one is building out the elective courses. And three is elementary CTE reading. I'm going to say, how does that fit? We'll get to it. So the first one is really visiting the high school. And it was really this big goal of these 6 academies. And really, how are we going to inform the staff? So we really did in a professional development day, Mary Jo was there, we informed the staff of where we were going, and took feedback on what do you believe should be in it. So Arts and Media Academy, what do you believe should be encased in that? So staff, they had 4 groups, and with each one, they gave feedback on what they believe was important. And then as we go through, they will get back next week. I don't know if you guys have got back they will get back together and start going through all that data. What feedback the staff does and start creating timelines for what do you think are some of the elective courses that changes parents? Is it going to be in summer meetings like teachers get together and discuss this? We have literally next year current years and these so we have to have this ready by, we're saying February of next year so they can schedule some measures. Building out the academies, if you go to each one of the academies, arts, media, STEM, career tech, and civic engagement. There's phonics to all of them.
Get our teachers involved.
Each one of
Make sure that all of our basic guys are linked to a
freshman kids. There's an honors
really good, either short cycle.
We're averaging about 2 to 3 elective
Or
courses.
four,
So say
how to grade policy or practice.
Currently,
our core policy training, first practice training. So the next couple of weeks, we actually work on creating that policy that reflects experience-based training. The teachers are involved, the leaders are involved.
Civic engagement.
I'm going to go ahead and turn over to Dr. Brown.
Actually, extra spend a day with city council. And so remember, that is really civic engagement. We have STEM, which we know STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. And so they will have 2 or 3 elective courses if they wanted to choose that. Then arts and media, that would be performing arts, drama, theater, music, choir, actual visual, so painting, they'll have actual. And so what we'll do is we're going to help students start creating civic. So if you want to be a civic engagement, better academy, want to be, right now, biomedical, people watch CSI, they want to be, they want to do it. So, then probably STEM would be the best one. And then, lastly, Pillar 3, elementary CTE reading. CTE is Early Technical Education. So what we believe, if we really want to focus on our vision of excellence, which is preparing school scholars today for the curriculum tomorrow, we really need to getting our elementary kids thinking about the careers. Not third grader, what are you going to do? It is getting them maybe reading maturity. I'll give you one example. You probably have Bob Miller. Can we get career textbooks on careers? fireman, doctor, just picture books for radio, and see if we can engage them mentally. So what we want to do is we actually want to get like a class set and do a pilot project next year, maybe get into an elementary teacher, and then getting feedback where students engage, where they ask any questions, and then giving it to another teacher in another building, maybe across town, and say, hey, engage this. What we want to do is we want to see, is it worth it? Before we buy all these books from all of our elementaries, is it worth doing? So we're going to do a pilot project next year. This has really been a brainchild of Rich Doherty, who is our director for exec now. He's been wanting to do this for several years. We have elementary teachers say, hey, I'm willing to try it. You know, so we'll have to identify books, what are age appropriate, and then start going and getting some information. Make sure that check this out. We believe it all goes back to getting even elementary students engaged. So, what we did is we had about a 5-minute presentation. Anything you want clarified? No, that's a quick presentation.
So finish 1 minute for discussion, 1 more minute for discussion.
I picked a major, right?
Yeah.
And halfway through it, I said I would like what am I allowed to change?
That right now,
Say that, you know, they are that, some of those lectures, say halfway through it, I had half of my lectures, but then in the 11th grade, I don't like it, so I have to start all over and do the lectures.
no, because the one academy we don't have here is a student who graduates from high school. You can graduate with honors. That's just taking the core curriculum, and you're just taking basically 3 or 4 years of all your courses. You just graduate. So, right now, what we want to do is we want to kind of get to the focus. Could there be room to change? Possibly. Remember, now we're in the process. We don't have every answer to every question.
Basically, say the science, say you have to take science and get credit for science.
Yeah.
So the STEM portion, would that qualify as your science if you decided to?
Yes. So our current 8th graders, when they're freshmen next year in the freshman academy that Mary Jo works in, it is our job to really get them focused on that following year. We want them to visit career check programs. We want them to get a bunch of courses on the academies, and start thinking. And really, our 8th graders now is really going to be the first class to actually do this. By then, in a couple of years, we are pushing career tech and college information down to the elementary, so as they go through the middle school, they're going to be more on track. This is what we think I want to do, then our career tech. So, is there some flexibility? Yes, but we really want to present this is what we're going to do, and start making good choices about what you're going to do with your. I remember Mr. Hardy told a story with ABA. Dr. Student said the thing would be like a ring school. So I was trying to say, well, how do you do that? Kid had no idea what were the steps. So we're going to give you steps on what he's going to do. That's why we build out the academy.
All right, at this time, we can move to receiving feedback.
There's a paper copy, and also on our website, if you want to do it electronically, you can do it through SurveyMonkey. So you should have received a survey, either by paper or through our website. You can do it electronically. So 4 minutes to complete the survey on what you just heard.
Well, yeah, but we, for next year, we're going to have 4 courses. So there's going to be one math, one science, one English, and then a psychology. And those will kind of fit, actually, they will fit in any of our psychology will fit into civil engagement.
If you have a lot of questions, or now or you can go on survey.
We do.
And 90% of the school, elementary school, was open enrollment for elementary. Our children did not get the amount of stories they were supposed to get. It went to the
All right. ahead in about 2 more minutes to complete your feedback survey. The feedback survey will be electronically or in your packet.
That's something we're discussing. I just think we are. He's since retired and joined So, but if we have any additional questions or yes, it's on the Lorain website.
And about 2 minutes left to fill out your survey. You can also go on our website right now and click on it if you want to do it electronically as well. In your packet, the last page, or online, if you go to our website, lorainschools.org, you'll see it right there as soon as you open the page. All right, please begin rotating to your next rotation, please, to your next initiative. When the music stops, we'll go on to the next rotation. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are on to your next rotation, that would be greatly appreciated. Facilitators, if you could bring them closer to you, draw them in with your love and attention. We're going to go ahead and start our second rotation. Facilitators, it is on you. 10 minutes. 10 minutes has begun.
This year, since February, we've been looking at revisioning in high school. So we have created somehow
That's it. Because if we're not teaching the right stuff, we can never expect our kids to catch that far.
academy, which is tight.
In addition to that, the second statistic that points out why this is so all the teachers were also given a survey, it's called the Insight Survey. It kind of gives, I guess, insight into like the professional learning culture of their school and their growth and development. Of that survey, 48% said when they receive feedback, it helps to kind of improve their practice. So the comments were, feedback wasn't consistent, but when it wasn't necessarily. And how can we expect to change the outcome for our students if our teachers don't feel like they're getting the support, the feedback, the coaching, the development? So the cornerstone of this initiative is about changing making sure our teachers know what to teach, giving them the resources to kind of teach the right thing, so working with them on the standard, and then after that, making sure that you have both assessments that are aligned to students, so that you know that we're teaching them the right thing for our college, and that there's a culture of feedback and support both from resources and
they will offer internships.
So that those are the highlights. I'm going to let you talk about some
As well as possibly.
Yeah, these are the great teachers. Great. Right now, you see we have actually we have 11 pillars. These are 5 word pillars.
Elective courses.
And one thing, so there's a first sentence up here. I think it's very impactful.
This is one power slide.
Scholars did great. These are great.
So this is the power slide.
That has the meaning. Based on systemic feedback rooted in learning standards and objectives. It's a very powerful statement for leadership. So what I want to do is talk about pillar 1. Pillar 1, which you see is great in progress, responsible, and research background. So we have started the process of awareness of school districts who are doing this very well.
We took the entire high school staff in 4 sessions. We focused on certain electives.
The SBB team, so they can tell you how really intense it has been talking about standards-based grading and the research that we have done.
What do you think should be?
Number 3 is learning goals and standards, having that culture of aspiration for everybody. But also looking at our case in our unit plans. The first question we've got so far is how we prepare these guys to answer as well. We're going to look at them, we're going to kind of revise them a little bit based on standards and make them better. Right?
For the academy, they said we have 6.
So make sure that all of these guys have standards and assessments are rooted to those guys. Having grading policy in practice, currently our grading policy does not reflect standards-based grading. So over the next 2 weeks, we are going to be working on creating that standards-based grading policy so we can put in place for this summer to make sure we're ready for August standards-based grading. So we're working hard to
right on high school.
We'll have to make all of that happen, we need to kind of build a structure for both our teachers and our leaders that we give them the support, the side-by-side work, kind of, and we want to develop a culture across the district of continuous reflection and feedback, where we know that we get better together. You know, we're gonna do this together. And we have some phenomenal just yesterday, I was in a kindergarten classroom where she was, this teacher's expectation was so high. She had those kids talking about rhombuses, octagons, hexagons, trapezoids, and they could all of those terms, and to like build the thought, explain it. But on that same term, 5 days prior, I was in a 9th grade classroom, and the kids were working on science. So I know that we have excellent teachers, but it is not consistent across the district. And to make it consistent, we need to be able to provide all of our teachers with ongoing feedback to get them better, to help them, to grow them. So this is what you can expect to be different. You can expect ongoing, if you're a teacher in this district, you can expect to receive regular feedback from your leaders, coaching side by side. Not evaluative, but something that's going to help you get better.
So if you want to be one
You can expect specific training on the standards so that we don't have more crossword puzzles. And we are pushing all of our students to the highest level.
In those areas.
And the other thing is you can expect assessments that are in line. So of those 17% of the lessons that we talked about that were standards of line, when we looked at the exit tickets that they yielded for those lessons, only 12% of those were aligned to the standards. So kids were receiving mixed messages. Sometimes they were receiving, yes, you're doing a great job on this, you're doing a great job on this, but the work that they were doing, they were receiving the message they're doing a great job. It actually wasn't aligned to the standards. So we need to make sure that we have a solid assessment system where we in place that is aligned to the standards and that we regularly look at not just data sheets, spreadsheets, but actual student work to tell us what is Johnny or Sue or Devon getting and what are they missing and what am I going to do differently tomorrow to address that. So that's what you can expect. You can expect to see leaders and teachers sitting side by side with student work in front of them. Actually, I was at yesterday.
That is a
And Lisa Amber was leading that meeting with her teachers. They had the workout, it was sorted, it was beautiful. And then they left away with a plan of like, oh, I'm going to do this differently tomorrow. And that's what you should see. So that's what you can expect. So to recap, next year, you should hold us accountable to ensure that there's aligned lessons in all classes, making sure we're giving scholars the right stuff. You can hold us accountable to making sure that teachers get regular feedback. By regular, I mean weekly or every other week from one of the leaders in their building, coaching to get them back. And you can expect us to be looking at student work at least on a weekly basis. Eventually, I'd like to be kind of doing work with them back and then making a different decision based on what we saw to kind of ensure that we're making scholars exactly right. That kind of sums it up. So now I just really want to open it up to any questions, comments, feedback that you guys have on any of those topics.
I had a question over there.
So we have
Perfect.
that's a
All
lot
right.
of information. It's
There's
really a lot
equal
of information.
opportunity.
Got it.
Any questions?
So I look at, when I think of the classroom, they talk a lot about STEM,
Got it.
which is math.
Still finish about 1 more minute for this discussion. Who facilitates?
So what do you think?
Some limits on
At
what you
these
do.
high
Thank you.
school, does it make
Being
sense?
taught at that
You
level.
know, so remember, this will really
They're taught at a level that's below you or above you. Probably won't
we are
learn.
thinking yes, but right now, what I'll
I don't
stress
think
is
we're,
we're in the
I think there's some
we're trying to
unequal
figure out. I don't have
opportunity.
the reasons, but what we will tell you,
I think
we know
it's a
that
major problem. So how does this address an hour and a half you spend with math,
and we know we're teaching
getting
So
most of the
what it is,
students in class
focus for this will
where
have
they're
to
at
be
to learn?
recurrent eighth grade.
So is your question, reframe your question, is your question, what are the kids doing in the math block or how we, I want to make sure I'm hearing your exact question, I'm sorry.
how does
As we're starting math, they need to start deciding what academy do I
have
have.
the teacher teaching at a level that the student can learn?
I think
Can meet.
I think it's really down to this part where we look at student work on a regular basis and then kind of see what does so-and-so need. And it might be a group of 5 students that need this, and then for this group, I'm going to kind of teach them this. For this group, they may be above the standard, and I'm going to teach them that. But if we see each student where they are, and then taking them there. But to meet each student know where they are, we actually need to know where they are, which means we need to be looking at the student work, which I have not seen us do consistently across all buildings, to the level that it needs to be done. Yes.
Where would the money come from to give the teachers the training, the materials they need? And you saw the different standards going through the different grade levels we did. Teachers for different jobs need different materials. Where would that come from?
For the materials, for the standards, I don't vision that part of the material, like standards awareness as a very part that needs a lot of financial backing behind it. I think it's an awareness of what the standards are.
Well, but if the teachers are trained to do something and they need materials, I was a former teacher for 34 years, and a lot of times I was given the job to work with gifted kids. I had no training, no materials to work with these gifted kids. Where would materials come from for the teachers that would need?
Well, that's definitely our job as a district to make sure that that schools have the materials that they need and the resources that they need. That's our job.
That's part of the revision process when it comes to our pacing guides. We start revising our pacing guides. That's when we start looking at the material and what's needed for the teacher in the classroom. That will happen when it comes to looking at those pacing guides.
So they're
That's
not.
what you'll be built into the pacing guides. What resource?
Kids are
What
taking
resource you would use for that lesson. But it's
All right, at this time, if you have feedback surveys, at this time, I'm going to fill out some feedback on what you heard, ask the questions, then we're going to come back together collectively in about 2 minutes. 2
Right here,
minutes.
the last page of your, the last page. I'm sorry, there you go. Yep, there you go. Take a moment and fill that and make your way back to your seat. Thank you.
No, we have.
Standing in line for table pictures when they have their school children. And I just said, it was good to see him. I got to my kids know what was this is doing. It was good for me.
It may or may not. Depends on what their department chair.
All right, just about 1 minute remaining in giving your feedback, so any final thoughts you have, please jot them down.
Oh, sounds good, man. Hey, I can make it up anytime.
All right, another 30 seconds. If you haven't clicked on the feedback survey, we would appreciate it. It's on our website, lorainschools.org, or there's a paper copy of the survey in your packets. All right, facilitators, if you could, I know you all had very rich conversations. I see some great notes around the room as well. I would love to hear from just each group, 30 seconds, a tweet worth of what you heard from community members, from teachers, leaders in your group, just to hear a quick snapshot of what was discussed in your group. One thing they liked, one question they might have had, and obviously one thing that might have been of a concern. And so I'll start here with one. Ms. Press, could you share that out?
Good evening, everyone. My initiative was the Birth to Bachelor initiative, and one thing that we shared was, one, making sure that there are opportunities for parents, community to feel engaged and involved in what's happening at schools. So that's like a check. We had a couple of wonderings, one of which was, what avenues are we making available to ensure that that parents are heard when there is an issue at the school, right? So potentially thinking about a parents' solution center and what that may look like to ensure that if there is an issue at the school, that the parent voice is heard and there can be some resolution.
Can we get this over there?
All right. So for the Early Readers, Early Leaders initiative, I think one of the positives that we heard was, I think, confidence in the adults, the teachers and the paraprofessionals that we have in our classrooms, and the quality of the education that they're bringing to our students, as well as there was a lot of positive energy around the way that we're engaging with families in the community. I think one question. There were some questions I think around wanting a little bit more clarity about what some of that engagement with families in the community would look like, and making sure that we are sort of maximizing opportunities that already exist for doing that, which I think was great. And I learned about some resources from some folks in the group. And is there something I'm missing? Something that might have been challenging. I think one challenge that came up was there was, this question about how are we making sure that we're addressing the literacy gaps that we talked about if we don't have those Title I teachers, and so wanting to hear what's the plan for addressing those gaps, without that resource there.
Okay, so we had a lot of excitement around what we're calling our 3C experiences, which is an opportunity for every scholar to have at least 3 experiences around career, culture, and college. And so one of the great things is that that's going to be open to every child and not used as a reward or a punishment. So I got a lot of nods during that statement. I think one of the questions that we had was, how can our parents be engaged, and how can they be aware of the curriculum that's coming up, so that if on their own they want to provide some experiences to really supplement the curriculum. And the challenge that we heard, which is similar to what Scott was talking about, is what are we going to do to support our struggling students? That it's great that they get to have these fun, learning, engaging opportunities, but how do we help them so they're really reaching the content standards and where they need to be? Yeah, or I wasn't talking.
All right, so that was 3 and 4. Where am I looking? Oh, right in front of me here.
All right, perfect. So we were 4 with the Great Teachers Initiative. I think one thing that resonated and we had a lot of head nods around was the fact that people were excited about teachers and leaders receiving regular feedback and coaching side by side, and making that a culture and climate of a regular practice in the district to get feedback so that we can grow together. Some questions, a question that came up was both around around intervention time in the schedules, if we're having intervention in the intervention blocks, will there be additional people there to kind of help provide that intervention to keep the groups smaller? And the other question was around, is there money for the training and materials that teachers needed? Yeah, that was a question.
And last but definitely not least.
Number 5.
Our initiative 5 was Build for the Future, and it's really the revisioning of the high school. And we're creating 6 academies at the high school that students can make choices to join and then prepare them for college. So I'll just give you an example of a couple. One would be a STEM academy, and STEM is science, technology, engineering, math, arts, and media, civic engagement. So anyone who wants to be maybe a police officer, they can go into that, and it's really improving your local community. And so one of the positive takeaways was our groups were very enthusiastic about the concept. And then I think a question that Mr. Hawks and I heard from both groups that we met with was, is it a definite? Like if I take civic engagement and I find out like, I really don't, like spending the day with the mayor or anything like that, can I change? And we're like, that's a great idea, because we do know freshmen in colleges and people in the workforce now change jobs, change majors. So we just have to do a really good job about informing our students and what they want to do. But that was a great takeaway.
Sounds like there were terrific conversations and great questions as well. I think those are questions that I know folks were listening to, especially that impact their area. So they're taking notes, mental notes on what they will do to address those. And just to put out there, if you have additional feedback, again, the feedback survey is still online. If you go to our website, the first thing that pops up is the actual survey. So if you have some feedback, please continue to put feedback there. In addition, we're going to pass around a couple note cards in case you have some questions as I finish up. And then we'll take a couple note cards specifically around these 5 initiatives today. If you have a question, feel free to grab one from Jeff as I finish up. So for those that you only heard 2 of 5, so you're probably wondering, so how do I get to the other 3? They will all be posted online, and they'll be posted for the next month, so you're able to see them. And from there, if you have questions, you'll see in the feedback survey, you want to have a conversation with someone about it. We will be setting up meetings with folks to have an additional round of conversations between now and when we finalize them. So the initiatives right now look a lot like this, and you see that middle column is pretty red. And the reason why it's red is because we're just in the beginning stages of kicking this off. And we don't want to get too far down the road without hearing from you. I think it's most important that we hear from you, understand your concerns, challenges, or insights that can inform these initiatives and the implementation of these initiatives better before we move forward. With that said, we'll get to a point where this slide, I think, is the most important, that say, okay, we're finalizing all of our ideas, all of our thoughts, and clarify exactly what you can expect. And what I've tried to capture from each of these initiatives are just the high-level expectations that us as teachers, leaders, community members can expect. I want to point out a few so it's just ingrained in our mind as we think about this. I want to go to Great Teachers Initiative, and it would sound like it was a big part of the conversation around there, around observation and feedback, and having that feedback loop going. The other piece that's underscored there, next year we're moving to a different grading policy where we will have standard-based grading. So as a teacher, wrap your mind around that so you understand what's coming, and we'll obviously prepare you for that change, but I think now it's important to hear that message. In addition to some of the other pieces around our pre-K piece, where we'll have a smoother and more streamlined registration policy and process. Parent University will kick off with our cornerstone seminars. In addition to next year, we will have 4 AP courses. So again, this slide captures just high-level things as a teacher, as a scholar, as a family member, you can anticipate. Okay? And with that said, all of those initiatives that we have been talking about are on track, and that feels really good at this time of year. After almost a year in, there's a team that's working extremely hard to make sure we're on track. And I want to say thank you to all of you for all the hard work that goes into this, but 2, just to realize that this is a work in progress, and we feel good about the progress we are making at this point. Here's the timeline for upcoming events. If you can read that, God bless you, because it's very small. But in short, the important dates are this. May 10th is today, when we were planned and scheduled to get to you the initial draft of these 5 initiatives and what they will look like and how they will impact you. Between May 14th and June 5th, we need more feedback. We need more time with you to really understand the challenges of implementing these 5 initiatives. So based on your feedback surveys, based on you saying, you know what, I need more time around the Great Teachers Initiative, we will set up a focus group to have a deeper conversation around it. So we truly understand the challenges that you all will face implementing these pieces. We'll come back together June 7th. That is our last town hall for this school year, where we will finalize all these pieces, celebrate a little bit of the things we've done well so far this year, but most importantly, prepare all of our teachers who are excited to go home for the summer with some information. Did I already hear a clap for that already? The end of the school year's here, which is great. So that's June 7th. So that's the timeline going forward. At this point, I want to take just a couple questions, if there are any, on note cards. Did we receive any back from folks? Just one. Okay, great. How do you plan to address behavior? I love your handwriting as well. That's really nice handwriting. How do you plan to address behavior? A few ways. One of which, with the addition of our Dean of Scholar and Family Engagement, the role of that person is to really address classroom and school culture. So their job is to manage a lot of those outbreaks that happen in classrooms, but more importantly, set up systems to make sure that all of our kids feel safe, feel welcome, and are able to perform well in a class. We were, case in point, we were able to visit a school in Denver, and we saw in a 9th and 10th grade morning meeting, which is, they have morning meetings every single day. And in this morning meeting, every scholar that was late that day had to stand up and apologize to their peers. Talk about, and these are 9th and 10th graders, right? Who had to stand up amongst their peers. Now, if you could imagine, if I had to stand up and say that I was late to school, I probably won't do it too many more times after that. And it changes that behavior, right? So I use that as an example of creating systems. We need to create systems around the behaviors we want to see to ensure that all of our kids are able to experience it. So that's one big piece. The second big piece, over the summer, and actually over the next few weeks and throughout the summer, we're moving to a restorative justice model and making sure that teachers have training and understanding of what that means to ensure that our kids are prepared for school every single day and feel comfortable in being who they are and making good choices. So all of that is part of underneath that Dean of Scholar and Family Engagement realm of things. But a great question and something that's a high priority for us. Was there a question on the back too, or is that something separate? Oh, where did you get the data that only 27 students are served monthly by Title I teachers? I would say 27 students are served daily. Okay, so what I did, let me see if I can pull it up for you, give you an example. So what I received, yes, save. What I received was this. Come on. What I received was this, and you might have came in just a little late. I gave an example of this earlier. It's a little blurry, I apologize. But what I received were the logs of all the Title I teachers, and it gave you exactly how many teachers were, I'm sorry, not teachers, how many scholars were served in that month. So that's what I received for every teacher by month. And so all I did was take that number and average it. And that's what's in this document here, okay? Yes. Ooh, one more. Thank you. Summer school for our kids. We need to keep them on track. I agree. I don't know where it came from, but I completely agree. Here's the good and bad news. The good news is we will have more of a full-scale summer school in time. The bad news, it won't be this year, because two things are true. One, we have to get it right. Summer school takes a significant amount of time to plan, and you don't want to go full scale in summer school for 6,500 kids and for it to go bad. I can firsthand say in St. Louis, we had 24,000 kids, and trying to pull off summer school the right way, we started in December. And that was for only about 8,000 kids that showed up every single day. At the same time, though, we realize there's some things we have to do, right? We have third grade reading guarantee, we have credit recovery, and we're going to have a summer bridge program for our 8th graders going to 9th grade. So we're going to start small and get that right and expand from there. So I agree, summer school, summer learning, summer experiences are very, very important, but we have to start small, get it right for our kids before we grow big. Great. Wow, 6 o'clock on the dot. You all are amazing. I really appreciate it. If there are any more questions, again, there's a feedback survey. You can go ahead and give us some more information through your feedback survey. Otherwise, have a great Friday, and better yet, have a great weekend. Thank you so very much, and have a good night.
This has been a production of Lorain City Schools TV 20 WLCS.